Logical good and evil. There are deeds that might feel emotionally good but are not logically good. For example, feeding wild animals might make you smile but can tame them so they are no longer wild, if not become dependent on humans for food. That's another example. People might become homeless due to drug addiction, and by giving them cash, you might be feeding the drug addiction rather than rendering any life assistance. Logical goodness should be good from all perspectives and angles, and feeding wild animals and giving cash to the homeless can feel emotionally good but might not be logically good. Using homelessness as an example, should you see homelessness and feel bad and want to do something to fix it, such as handing out cash, then you are showing emotional goodness by showing a desire to want to help people and right the apparent wrong. But if you consider factors like drug addiction, then individuals might buy drugs and be content being homeless as long as they can get high, so therefore giving cash to some individuals is like paying them to stay homeless. Then consider advanced factors like how some might eat from the trash, not bathe, not launder their clothing, etc., meaning their lack of sanitation and healthcare will likely cause problems eventually, so giving cash might inadvertently torture them instead of helping them. If you want to help the homeless, contributing to a homeless charity is a more logical solution, especially if the charity offers showers, laundry service, drug rehabilitation, job training, etc., so individuals learn to help themselves out of homelessness. So know how emotions are default and shallow feelings that can be expanded upon if you pause and think from all perspectives and angles to then reach a more logical alternative. And the purpose of life is for people to gain life experience, to be able to think from multiple views and angles, to reach informed and complete decisions, to learn true and logical goodness as a result, such as in preparation to becoming an angel. In other videos, I have described how a soul will reincarnate from life to life until that soul learns to coexist with others and be logically good enough living a limited life before being given an immortal life as an angel to escape reincarnation and live forever. Waiting until you are ready is for your own sake, so your immortal life as an angel will be heavenly and not hellish, such as should your personality conflict with other angels, and this can become hellish especially when dragged out forever and ever. Therefore, in order for you to enjoy eternal life, you need to understand and practice logical goodness. And logical goodness stems from 2 points. Souls exist and have to exist. You need other souls to be happy. As such, the best way for all souls to coexist is to achieve peace and harmony with each other, contrasted to creating pain and suffering through fights or feeling isolation and loneliness from being alone because you are unable to get along with others. And logical goodness is what promotes fair and equal peace and harmony between souls, where conversely goodness is good because of the fairness, equality, peace, and harmony. Sounds simple, but there are many ways two bodies can interact, meaning because life is complicated, the permutations of good and evil become complex. As such, reincarnation will exist so souls will live through scenario after scenario to learn a reasonable amount of logical goodness before becoming an angel, such as to increase the likelihood that your immortality will be heavenly. There are varying degrees of logical good and evil, and let's start with obvious evil like murder, robbery, assault, etc. So obvious most societies, if not all, have defined them as criminal offenses. Then less obvious as good or evil, you might cause an accident since no one is perfect, and when accidents occur, are you the type of person who will feel bad and take responsibility to try to right the wrong? After an accident, are you the type of person who will stay and deal with the consequences, or would you run away? Would you apologize after causing an accident? If so, are you the type of person who will expect the apology to be sufficient, such as while showing no interest in fixing or replacing something you damaged? Should your victim get angry at you, would you want to abandon redemption because of the hassle, or would you get angry in response, such as while showing a lack of empathy to understand that your victim might have a reason to be angry at you? Among angels against eternal time, it is a matter of mathematical probability before an accident occurs, and when it does, how you react, take responsibility, etc. becomes important for the happy coexistence of angels to maintain peace in heaven. Then besides evil deeds and accidents, there are lists of everyday behavior and habits that affect the equality and harmony of coexistence, and relative to human life, this can be called public safety. For example, are you the type of person to walk while focused on an electronic device, where there is a chance you might run into something and hurt yourself, or other people have to dodge you while you are not paying attention to where you are walking? Are you paying attention to the things you carry and control? Like, should you walk a dog, would you shorten the leash when someone's walking by so the person won't trip and won't be inconvenienced because of your act of walking your dog? Do you follow rules and social conventions like obey traffic laws, not speed while driving and stop at stop signs? While walking, do you walk on the correct side, the right side in the United States, even indoors like at stores, so two shoppers can walk past each other peacefully and without inconvenience? These social conventions and rules have been defined so that people can go out into the public and do what they want to do in a fair and harmonious way, without people running into each other or inconveniencing each other. And social conventions are applicable in heaven too, as other angels won't appreciate running into you or being inconvenienced by you over and over again, especially for eternity. Please also note the difference between input and output, such as are you paying attention, input to your surrounding and your conduct, or are you busy dreaming and focusing on your selfish needs, output, so that people have to dodge around you? And acts of great evil like murder and assault seem to also be the output of selfish dreams and desires imposed onto others to the point someone is willing to attack someone to get their way. Versus accepting reality as is and changing yourself to adapt and finding happiness through your actions and deeds relative to reality, meaning change yourself contrasted to expecting the world to change and bend to cater to your needs and desires. With your free will, it is within your control to change yourself, contrasted to trying to change other people to meet your expectations might lead to disappointments, especially if you are trying to exert your selfish expectations onto others. And evil deeds typically arise when people are unwilling to change themselves and attempt to change other people instead, such as by force. So if you do not harm people, try to undo damages after accidents, and follow social conventions and rules so you do not run into or inconvenience people in public, then you are at least making no ill impact on the universe. And you can determine if you are logically good or evil by what type of impact you leave. Is the universe better off or worse off with you in it? Should you not hurt anybody or inconvenience anybody with your mere existence, then this logically qualifies as good behavior, such as so the universe is not growing worse because of you, thus you are in harmony with the universe. Should you then spread these concepts to others so they too understand the importance of peace and harmony in the universe, then this is logically doing good deeds, such as because you're trying to make the universe logically better for everybody. An example of good deed will be to implement, support, and explain to people how homeless charities help the homeless through rehabilitation, training, etc., better than giving cash directly to the homeless as explained at the beginning of this video. Then what makes logical sense might spread from person to person to produce results, while being logically the best way to help people like the homeless from all views and angles, so that real changes can occur that makes the universe better as a result. In summary, logical evil are actions that cause harm unto yourself or others at varying degrees, from something as egregious as murder to something as slight as inconveniencing somebody due to your failure to follow social conventions and rules. Good behavior is your ability to control yourself around others to maintain peace and harmony fairly and equally, and doing good deeds is sharing and promoting goodness to spread peace and harmony in the universe. Among angels, goodness will allow angels to coexist with each other peacefully and harmoniously, such as so they can work together to figure out how to spread peace and harmony throughout the universe so more angels can emerge. And the universe becomes better and better as a result when people do their part to behave while not encroaching on others and spread goodness when they can. Fun and liberties are fine, but with responsibility so that fun and liberties are enjoyed by all equally and fairly, which is good, contrasted to you imposing and forcing your selfishness onto others, which is evil. If you are willing to wait in line or wait for your turn to speak, which should also be applicable to angels in heaven, then you are understanding and accepting these conventions as personal responsibility so that souls can coexist fairly and equally. Meaning conventions and responsibilities might take work, and it's up to you to view as necessity or as irksome bother, in the same way traveling from place to place takes time, which you can regard the time with impatience or accept as part of reality. Should you be impatient and selfish, then taking responsibility and waiting for your turn will be boring and painful to you, such as so you will want to speed, talk over people, and selfishly force your way onto others, which then causes problems in the universe. Contrasted to waiting for your turn as a matter of fairness and equality, including respecting others during their turn, in the same way you will want others to respect you during your turn because this is fair. Because souls exist and have to exist and you need other people to be happy, therefore you need to figure out logical ways to coexist with them. Finding peace and harmony requires you to do your part along with other people doing their part, and relative to heaven it seems logical and essential for all angels to understand and practice these concepts so that heaven can be heavenly for everybody. Hopefully you can get a sense of what it takes to achieve logical goodness on earth and heaven and in the universe from these explanations. Thanks for watching.